One of my favorite things about getting to help Kris Krohn run his company is having the opportunity to sit with him often and hear him train people on how to get to the next level. When you're around Kris, when you hear him speak, I am just often inspired to be like, I want to grow. I want to do better. I want to learn and reach that next level. And actually this morning, we were lucky enough that we actually had a camera there while Kris was training our sales team and sharing with them the powerful formula, a game plan of how to get to your next level, things that involve a coach and extreme accountability. And he dives deep into this plan. And while he's speaking specifically around the skill set of sales, honestly, the map, the recipe that he shared today, it is applicable to almost any goal that you might have out there. So without further ado, let's dive in and let's hear what Kris shared this morning.
So what I want to do right now is I just want to share some training that's been on my heart because I've been having an experience with Josh that's a part of our team here. Josh Hansen got an opportunity a couple weeks ago to basically earn an hour of some Kris mentorship. Zion got that as well. And Josh, if you can unmute yourself, how was that experience for you?
It was life-changing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then it came with a little bit of an unexpected surprise, right?
It did, but I was very, very thankful for it.
Yeah, so right now, guys, I've got Josh. Josh has been with us for about 8 months. Josh, his 6-week average at his highest has been around what, Josh? What was your previous high on 6-week average?
I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was like 14.
So it was about $14,000, which, just so that you guys know, he's been here less than a year, but at that point, he was averaging over 6 weeks what would have been equivalent to probably $140,000 a year. But has otherwise been dealing with some inconsistency. He's had highs and he's had lows. And after we spent an hour together, I said, well, I don't know if this is your lucky day or not, but for the next 8 weeks, we're saddled up every single day. And I want to give you a game plan, and we're going to be reporting in on it every single day. And because of the experience, I thought, I bet, I could be wrong, but I bet there's some of you here that might be curious, number one, what that game plan is. And if you feel like it applies for you, you might want to do something with it. Would that be helpful? Yes. So Josh, I might pick on you a little bit here, but I want to just kind of share the story of Josh Hansen in our first week versus our second week. So the first thing I diagnosed after talking to Josh is that Josh, like many mere mortals, normal humans, obviously we're all here to be supernatural, right? Yes or yes? Yes. Yes or yes? Yes. So Josh basically says, well, truth is, Kris, I have some great positive moments, and then I lose my momentum when I have my down moments, right? Who can relate to what Josh is talking about here? And, I asked Josh, I said, well, hey, when you have a down moment, how long does it last? And Josh, if you remember, sometimes those down moments can last how many days?
I had some that lasted a few days.
Yeah. And so I want to tell you that in this job, you will be financially rewarded based on your momentum, on your what? Momentum. And I just want to tell you right now, how many of you have ever been in a diet? Raise your hand if you've ever been on a diet, a specific meal plan, going to the gym, trying to gain muscle or do something. If you will be game on for 3 days and then you'll be game off for 3 days, what is the net difference? Will you be a little up or will you be a little behind? I want you to be honest with me. If you're on and doing everything right for 3 days and then everything wrong for 3 days, do you just end 6 days later at net zero? No. How many of you think you're worse off? I'm going to tell you right now, you can do more damage. You can consume more calories inappropriately faster than you can actually be good. Because by the way, if you go spend an hour on the treadmill and run your life out, you might burn 1,000 calories. I can burn like 1,800 calories in an hour if I'm hauling on max incline, at like 10 miles an hour and needing to hold onto the guide rails because it's so freaking insane wild. You can only do so much caloric good with good choices, but you can do way more caloric bad with bad choices. And I would say energetically, you could have 5 positive days and 1 negative day is enough to knock out the 5 positive days. In other words, the wheel of life when it comes to momentum is 5 good days and 1 bad day is probably less than a break-even week. And I want to share that math with you because this is something most people on planet Earth don't get. They don't understand that negativity is a choice, and they don't understand they're in charge of their feelings, and they don't understand the cost of negativity. If they did, they wouldn't do it. Because you can be positive for 10 hours, be negative for 1 hour, and you can eradicate all the good. Which means that positivity is a game of excellence because it doesn't matter if you're 90% on point. It also doesn't matter if you're 95% on point. You're only going to experience the true benefits of positivity when you are 98 to 100% on point. Now, how unfair and unrealistic does that sound? Pretty wild, right? Sounds a little bit unfair, but I'm just telling you that if you guys watch the Olympics, hello, did anyone enjoy some of that? And you're watching Super G downhill, and the difference between first and second place is 100th of a second. So I didn't crouch that extra 0.5 degrees, which would have given me slightly more momentum because I stood up too fast, a split second too early, and that's why I didn't make gold. That's the game of positivity. It is nearly that competitive. Now, obviously, you're not competing against anyone except for who? Yourself. Yeah, so I basically said, Josh, you owe me a video, not a text, every single night. And for his first week, all I was measuring 3 things, and I think you should write these down. I said, number 1, you need to be putting up 3 sets a week. You need to be putting up 5 small sales. Because if you put up 5 small sales, you should be able to make yourself $50,000 to $100,000 a year. If you get good, like Nick and others here, they can get 2 of your 3 sets closed, you're gonna add another $100,000+ on top of that. And with that, you're gonna put yourself in the running for leadership. Josh got there once. He was doing, for a 6-week stint, he was averaging about $140,000, but you can't sustain that if you question your mentality, step into negativity, and have a down moment turn into a down day, turn into a down week. And so I said, Josh, the biggest thing I want to work on with you with is momentum. So I said, here are the 3 things that we're going to work on right now. Just these 3 things. Number 1, you got to put up 3 sets a week. Number 2, you have to put up 5 of your own deals a week on intro closes. And then the third thing is I need a report at the end of the day for you to keep yourself in top-notch, emotional, positive peak state. And I said, Josh, the moment you fall out of peak state energy, then there's an immediate consequence. What do you have to do?
If it's a lingering one for more than just a minute, then I've got to get up and do something that makes me sweat for 5 minutes while running around screaming like a crazy man, positive affirmations to myself outside where it's most embarrassing, which I have zero desire to do. So I kept some peak state energy most of the week.
Yeah, so by the way, give it up for that. Josh did a really good job this last week. Yep. So I gave him a meaningful consequence, and it wasn't to have him feel bad or shame or guilt. I literally said for 5 minutes, move your body, because there are 3 ways to change your mental state. And the first one is to use physicality. I said, you got to engage your body. If you guys are ever down, if you will literally just jump up and down with your hands in the air 20 times, it'll take you less than 30 seconds, and immediately you'll feel a shift in your energy. So it's called a pattern interrupt. It's called a what? And so I said, you need a 5-minute pattern interrupt. You need to go sweat for 5 minutes, and like a madman, you need to shout all your positive affirmations. And did you have to do that once this last week?
I didn't have to. I did like a 30-second exercise. I never was at a point where I needed to do a full-on 5-minute scream session.
Yes. So now the reason why I told Josh I want to work with him for 8 weeks is because I said, I want you to do something. I want to give you a gift. I need you to hit your best 6-week average 8 weeks from now. Not 6 weeks from now, because I said, guess what? You don't have momentum on your side, and you have to rebuild your pipeline, because when you're on and off, your pipeline is crap. So I said, we're going to take 2 weeks where I'm going to work with you and coach you to get your pipeline good, and then we're going to have a 6-week run. And I said, if in 6 weeks you have a record-breaking 6-week average, which I 1,000,000% believe that he will. Josh, are you going to have that?
Most definitely.
Okay, so if he does, I said I got a prize for him, because he also told me, he says, Kris, I've released a lot of weight in the past. I have 60 to 80 more pounds to go. And I said, great, we're gonna talk about a very, very meaningful solution to that. But first, you gotta show me that you're willing to be coachable, teachable, and implement everything that we talk about for an 8-week period of time. So week 1 is behind us. And the results of week 1 is I discovered a couple of things. Number 1 is I got Josh to stop stepping backward negatively. How many of you actually could do some good in your own life if you learned how to do that? Listen, a moment of negativity can eradicate a lot of positivity. You can't afford it. It's too expensive in this job. This is an energy sensitive job. Not all jobs are energy sensitive. This one is insanely energetically sensitive. How many of you know that I have a crazy unfair advantage, that if I was doing your job and making calls all day and the auto dialer was kicking people over to me, that every person that talked to me, if they had money, would buy whatever I'm selling? How many of you know that? I get that it's unfair. I'm Kris Krohn, but the other reason why they would have to buy is because of my energy. Because my energy is so much more conscious than their low state energy. My solutions are there when they have none. I embody the energy of hope with the actual technical back of step-by-step exactly how you make it happen. So it's not just rah, this feels really good energy. It's backed up by logic that actually makes sense. And when you put the two of them together, people just can't say no to me unless they're supposed to. My job is never to close 100% of everyone. That is never your job. Your job is to be your most powerful coach you humanly possibly can, which means in your own personal life, you have to be super energy sensitive, which means you have to eradicate all the garbage that pulls you down in your life. If it's a food, stop doing that. If it's a person, then you need to mitigate it, address it, or do something about it. So I basically said week 1, and here's the results that Josh gave me. Josh had 1 sale instead of 5, but instead of 3 sets, you had how many last week?
I had 1 set last week.
So you had 1 set. Okay, so week 1, he didn't move forward, he didn't move backwards with the negativity, but his results aren't what they should have been. And that's okay, because that's why I have 2 weeks of a running head start, and then we got 6 weeks to get him to a record break, and then his job is to sustain it so that he steps into multiple 6-figure earner, so they can go talk to Marianne and get eligible for some leadership opportunity that will give him his next level up. We got a good game plan. And one of the things that I found out is that Josh really likes big sets, high-end sets, but he doesn't like doing the small deals. My word's not his. And I realize he favors one of them, okay? And I want you to ask yourself, do you favor? You have 2 outcomes every week. You should be putting up a sale a day, and then you should also be putting up 3 sets a week. And I'm asking you right now to be honest with yourself, which of those 2 do you favor more than the other? Sets. Yeah, and by the way, I see that. I can see that in your numbers, because you're missing $50,000 to $100,000 a year that you're supposed to be in control of that you're not doing because you're just looking for sets. It's always obvious to me who says I'm responsible for my own income because they favor sales, intro closes, and then I can always see who likes the big potential at money because they like someone else doing, if they can set it well, someone else will close it. But I'm gonna tell you, you are not gonna meet your potential unless you make both of them equally important. So I told Josh, and I'm just gonna say it with all of you, your job is to knock down a sale a day, and your job is to put up at least 3 sets. That's your minimum, by the way. That's a minimum. It's a what? Minimum. So by the way, could you have a goal of saying, my day doesn't end until I do 2 sales a day? Yes. There are some of you here that are capable of that, and I see some of you actually do that. But that's up to you. You gotta challenge yourself. You gotta find your push on your sets and your selling, and if you don't have a winning combination of both, then what you're doing is you're attempting to grab half the income. You should be attempting to grab all of the income, because if you go for both, you'll at least get half of having focused on just fully one or the other. Does that make sense? Okay, so basically I said, that's Josh. Then I got to the end of the week and I said, Josh, real quick, I said, got it. Every week I'm going to add and I'm going to give you something new. So I said for week 2, this week, it's not enough to be leery and aware of your negativity. Now I said, I need you this week to practice twice the coaching energy. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by bring twice the energy? What are you guys feeling coming off of me right now? Yeah. Can you imagine me being on a sales call with someone? What would they accuse me of? They wouldn't dare, but if they could. Like, if they could accuse me, what would they accuse me of? This is the energy that I'm bringing when I'm on the phone.
Over the top.
Freaking over the top. What else? Crazy. What else?
Aggressive.
Aggressive. What else?
Salesy.
Maybe salesy. What else? What's that? Interrogating. 100% yes. So I'm not telling you to be Kris Krohn, but I am telling you to be you. And I'm going to tell you right now, as an influencer, if you don't have haters, you can't have lovers. If you're not standing for anything, then you stand for nothing. If you don't have polarization in what you're doing, then you are weak. In this job, if you want to be your strongest self, you have to take a risk. And that risk is, how are you going to stand out? What does it look like for you to be powerful? Now, Max, by the way, I think is insanely powerful. He doesn't do it loud like I do it. And that's perfect for Max. And by the way, is Max getting amazing results? Yes or yes? Yes. You have to ask yourself, what does that look like for you? I'm just telling you with Josh, Josh has been in such a pattern of, oh man, I just lost my steam for a moment. How do I get it back? So he's always playing a catch-up game on energy. So I said, this week, no more catch-up. Now I need you to bring twice the energy. So whatever it is you're putting through the phone, I need you to project double of that. And I want you to see what happens this week when people can sense a higher level of passion and energy from you. So that's his game plan for this week. Josh, how are you feeling about that?
I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pumped.
Good. And I'm going to, every week, I'm just literally going to keep correcting. Now, by the way, what I'm doing with Josh, How many of you, by raise of hands, know that you could set something like that up with your team leader, right? What would happen if every day you had to return and report to somebody? Because I'm going to tell you right now, this morning I had to send pictures to my trainer, Yo, and I had to tell him that I was a little dirty over the weekend. I ate a little bit unclean. I was at my wife's party and I threw down a couple of sliders, and it's possible that I had one of those shakes, maybe more than one. They weren't very big in the first place. It's my story. And I had to be accountable. So I have people that I'm accountable to in my nutrition. I have, like, where's Trent? Trent's out there somewhere. I'm accountable to that dude every single day at the gym. I have people that I'm accountable to on my finances. I have people I'm accountable to in my relationship. I have accountability everywhere. And if you want to step up your life, then just ask, are you hiding or are you being accountable? Because if you don't have to report to someone other than yourself, there's a good chance that you might be hiding. So this is what I'm doing with Josh. And by the way, Josh is going to produce some of his best results because you can't hide from me. It's not possible. So Josh has a very specific game plan. He knows it's 5 sales, 3 sets minimum. And then I'm expecting that. And I know he got the message because on Saturday he said, hey, still going strong. And whatever I don't get this week, I have to do next week. So this week he's responsible for 9 sales. And he's responsible for 5 sets. Josh, you going to do it?
Definitely.
Good. Don't get further in debt with me. Don't get further in the hole. You need to bring all of that 9 and 5 game plan, okay?
Got it.
Got it. So here's what's happening. Everything keeps rolling. When you don't have accountability, you know what you do in your life? Oh, that's okay, shake it off. Let's just do a do-over. And do-over is the worst thing that you can act. Some of us are in do-over patterns. That's okay, I messed up my diet, I'll just start again. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing damaging, to the fact that I just totally put my integrity on the line and I said I was gonna do it and then I didn't. That's okay, there's no consequence. That's a problem. There should always be a consequence. Either don't sign up in the first place, but if you do, you want some accountability. Every one of you here, by the way, should have someone that you're accountable to. And I'm not talking about the hierarchy if I have a leader that I report to. I'm saying, am I engaged in a game where I have publicly communicated, here's my game plan, refine my game plan, here's what my next level looks like, let's go. And by the way, some of you are doing this. What happens if I don't do X or Y or Z? Josh has to face the wrath of a little bit of Kris Krohn in his life for the next 7 weeks. And Josh, you're doing an amazing job. By the way, give it up for him. He's doing an amazing job. But I want to talk about this today because I want you to know that you should all have a custom game plan. A custom what? Game plan. So by the way, you should ask yourself, 5 sales, 3 sets. That is everyone's minimum. But by the way, can your minimum be more than that? Yes or yes? Yes. Yeah, so you should customize it. Just make sure your numbers aren't less than that. If you've been favoring one thing and not the other, correct that when? Just correct it right now. And now you got to this is where truth will set you free. It's time to be honest and say, if I had an accountability coach, what would I want to be held accountable for that I know would make me a better person? What am I aware of? Where do I cut myself some slack? Where do I cheat and where do I hide? And if you know where you do that, get some accountability in your life. And I recommend that you have someone that you're accountable to in this job every single day. I understand there's technically a system of team leader and that we have the leadership there, but I'm asking you, are you leveraging it to the fullest? And have you enrolled them in you being your best version of you here? And if not, I'm inviting you to do that. And in a moment, I'll turn it back to Marianne, but just my final thought on the message is that we underestimate what we can do in a decade, but we always overestimate what we can do in a year. And so people that struggle to be successful are always thinking in days and weeks. They're not thinking in decades. And so I would start asking yourself, 5 years from now, if I'm the highest paid person in this division and I have all these investments and I'm growing in every possible area of my life and my peak state health and my relationships are better than they've ever been, if I know what I want that to look like 5 years from now, then who do I have to become today that I'm not? And how do I get myself some accountability for it so that every day I am held accountable, because I'm going to be holding Josh accountable for every single day for the next 7 weeks. And do not be surprised in the next 2 months when he hits his highest level of performance after being here for 8 weeks. And then after that, I'm going to work with him to sustain it. He's got a gift coming his way if he can hit it. But if he'll then sustain it, that's when you start doing something amazing and supernatural, because if he's on track for $150,000 a year, instead of dipping, can maintain and keep that, how many of you can see that that would be really powerful? And Josh, if you are tracking for that income and then could hold it, before even growing it, how much extra money would that give you a year to be able to invest?
About 80,000.
About 80. And I tell everyone here that in your first year, you want to get on track for having an extra $50,000 to $100,000 a year. And starting in your second year, you want to have that $100,000+ a year mark. So Josh, this isn't a want. This is a have to. This is a need for your financial future, for your wife, for your kids. This is what you have to do. Everything is on the line. Everything is on the line. And that's why you get accountability, because it's easy to feel like it's not all on the line. But the truth is, you're going to wake up one day and say, shoot, it was all on the line and I didn't treat it like it was. It matters today. It matters today. So I love you guys. Level up your game. I'm inviting you today to create an elevated game plan. I'm inviting you to talk to your team leader, a member of your team. It could be a peer. And I'm inviting you to get in a relationship with them where you're going to ask them to hold you accountable. And I'm going to ask you to have consequences. And I'm going to invite you to push so that you can sustain a higher level of success. And if you do this, you will feel a burden that you were meant to make light. My final on this, I remember when I got on track for making $100,000 a year at my sales job that kicked off my whole thing in the very beginning. And I remember at the same time, I had bought some investment properties and I was a full-time student. And this is the only way I knew how to communicate it to my wife. I'd get home at 9 p.m., sometimes 10 p.m., completely tired. And my wife, Colleen, would say, how are you feeling? And I said, wow, today I did the work of 4 people. And she says, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, I was a full-time student today with 18 credits. And that was hard in and of itself. And then I'm earning enough at my job that I'm earning the amount of money of 2 average people. That's 3. And then I've got my real estate investments on the side that are working for me, producing enough income as if I was a 4th. Today I did the work of 4 people. And there was a time in my life when that felt like a burden. It was hard to sustain $100,000 a year and do the real estate and be a student. But after a couple months, guess what? Guess how that felt? Did it feel like a burden a few months later? What happened?
It felt natural.
It felt natural. I grew into it. And if I wasn't then doing the work of 4 people, I felt like I was slothful. And I remember when I would tell my wife, today I did the work of 10 people. And I remember when I said I did the work of 20 people. And as that number got higher and the burden and the stretch, right now, guys, I'm feeling the stretch in my life. I told our training team that I'm feeling it. On Friday, I ended that day at 7 p.m. on a dinner date with my wife. And she said, Kris, tell me about this and tell me about this and tell me about this. And I felt like she was grilling me for 30 minutes trying to catch up on everything going on. And after 30 minutes, I sat there at the restaurant and she asked me the next question. I just couldn't talk. And she looked at me and then she asked again and I didn't even have the energy to respond. I wasn't trying to be rude. I was just done. And then she got a little irritated. She's like, Kris, now I'm getting mad. What's going on? Why are you talking? I said, honey, I love you. I am so done. I just need to go home and will you just please put me to bed? And that day earlier, I had made a move on 2 9-figure deals. And I sealed the deal on both of them. I've got to do the work on them. They're huge, but they stretched me. That Friday, I went home and I felt like I did the work of 1,000 people because I got watched by hundreds of thousands of people as if I had been in their home having a conversation with them. And operating all these businesses and working with all these people and doing all these things. And I'm blessed to have an amazing team. I really don't do the work of 1,000 people. I have an amazing, brilliant team, and we're collectively that work. We're collectively creating that kind of impact. I'm challenging you to elevate how you think of yourself and start asking more. How do I do the work of 2 people instead of 1? By being smarter, not working harder. How do I do the work of 3 people? Cody, you've been with me for how long?
A year and a half, almost.
Awesome. And just being honest, you came out of a really difficult financial divorce situation and you came in with a lot of debt. What's been happening to that debt?
Yeah, next month it'll be gone.
Next month it'll be entirely gone. That's a huge moment for him. That's huge. And I'm just telling you, Cody's been with me for a year and a half. He's a team leader on my team and he does the work of multiple people. He's also supported by an amazing team. And that's why he has acceleration in his life that he didn't have before. And the longer I know Cody, the more I'm going to challenge him. Now do the work of 5. Now do the work of 8. Now do the work of 10. Because he has the potential, just like every one of you does, to be able to do that. So I'm inviting you to stretch. I'm inviting you to push yourself, but to create a day-to-day tactical plan that it's measurable so you know it. Get an accountability partner, just like Josh has with me. Every one of you, raise your hand if you can get an accountability partner today. And if you'll make it real, push yourself to grow. And I'm challenging you to do the work of many women, many men, and crush it. It's your life. This is your time. Let's win. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks. Back to you, man.